at 7:01. Do we need a roll call?
Yes, we can do a, Jackie can do a roll call.
Okay.
She's got the list.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Chanda?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Dicker? Mr. McGee?
Present?
Mr. Petroulis?
Yes, here.
Mr. Adams?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. We have full attendance, I believe. Yes?
We are missing Suzanne Dicker, but we, Ms. Chambers, do you happen to know, we don't have any contact info that works or anything?
With this woman, Susan?
Mm-hmm.
I work at the police station. Maybe I can find out something.
Oh, that's okay then. We can let the clerk's office know. Thank you though.
Okay, that sounds more like a gentler issue. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, Brett, you have, am I supposed to have a agenda? Because I don't know if I do or not.
Yeah, the agenda was emailed. I can tell you the next item is the approval of this agenda. So
Okay.
we'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So
Okay.
move.
We had a motion by, was it Mr. McGee, and a second by Mr. Vogt?
Voigt.
Voigt, excuse me.
Don't pronounce the G. It's Voigt, like in Voigt footballs and basketballs.
So
It's just right.
Jackie's worked for me for 2 years. Has it been 2 years, Jackie? And I still have to
3.
think about 3 years. Okay?
Mhm.
I still have to think about how to pronounce her last name. It's been 3 years.
Mhm.
So Voigt. I won't make that mistake again tonight.
But you get extra credit. You've done it 3 times.
Okay,
We need a vote then on that.
okay.
Well, who is second?
I could second it, can't I?
It was a motion by Mr. McGee and a second by Mr. Voigt.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Okay, Mr. McGee,
Yep.
Ms. Chambers,
yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Voigt,
Yes.
Ms. Dicker is absent, Mr. Petroulis. Mr. Petroulis?
Where is he at? Oh,
Oh, we can't hear you.
yeah.
Okay, he said yes.
There's Mike's on now.
Okay, Mr. Chanda,
Yes.
thank you.
Do we have, what is the next step? Because I don't have my paper.
I'm sorry, the next is approval of the minutes of February 18th of 2 weeks ago.
Okay, I read those and do I have any, go ahead.
I would just say we would approve them as submitted, or we would
Correct
accept,
them.
suggestions for corrections.
Do we have any suggestions for corrections from anyone? No? Okay, I see no positive, so it stands as read. We approve them by vote.
Wait, motion,
Yes. We need a motion and a second.
motion and a second, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as stated.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Petroulis? Okay,
Yep,
Ms. Chambers?
yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Chanda?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Voigt?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item, Barb, is new business, which is the demolition of the outhouse at the Old Stone School located at 3995 West South Boulevard. I can briefly summarize the application if you'd like.
Okay, go ahead and then we can have discussion.
Thank you. I'll be very brief because I think everyone's familiar with this, and as everyone's had a chance to look at the agenda. The Old Stone School property is owned by the Temple which is located on the property that abuts the Old Stone School. To the east, the temple acquired the property in 2019, and previous to that, the city had owned it since 2008. And the Old Stone School was built in 1857. It's just what it sounds like. It's an Old Stone School. It's arguably the most historically significant building in the city. There are two other small structures on the property. One is an old outhouse, and the other is a stone well. The outhouse is in a state of disrepair. Some of the walls have come in. There's damage to the roof. To the point of it being a safety issue. We received a call from a resident complaining blight. We inspected it, determined that it was blight. Asked the temple to cordon it off with tape to protect people, make it safer, which they did. And the temple has now, after securing the site, they have sought permission to demolish the outhouse. And because it's a historic property, they need approval from the Historic District Commission to demolish the outbuilding.
Okay.
I can answer any questions that you may have.
And I believe that's why we're here tonight, and we have the members who may have some questions or some comments. I would like to hear those so Brent and I can hear them. Tim or Kent, do you have any questions or comments?
I could make a comment or two. I was out there today to take a look at it one more time. And
Okay.
I noticed property is very small that the house is on. So it becomes, to me, very much unusable as a building, much better as a monument on that site to something that goes on in the past. And as I looked at the outhouse, it is in very bad shape, barely standing. And I was thinking of preserving the stone and filling in the outhouse, having the stone for repair for the main building, and really turning the main building into a monument, because access to the building is only really possible from the temple. And then in order to do that, you'd have to build a path and probably a bridge across the creek down there. And that sounds like unnecessary, especially since the building isn't large enough to really be a terrific place for events.
Okay. Okay, Tim, you have no comment or question?
No, I concur with that. As I stated before, I'd like to have the bricks protected so that they can
Okay.
be used for restoration uses.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
call it salvage.
Well, yeah, I got one other thing too. That those bricks could be used also as a some sort of a notice. You know, that's the highest point in Troy right there at that intersection, and it's really should say, you know, you're welcome coming into Troy or something like that. Historic something to words to that effect.
Maybe call a sign of encouragement to come into Troy. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, John Adams, you were at the site?
I walked it too, as did Kent. In fact, I walked it last Sunday. I totally agree with what Kent said about the nature of dilapidation. It is beyond repair. There's no point even thinking about repairing it. I'm all for demolition. I think that's a smart thing to make clean whatever natural stones there are that could be reused. I think the same thing could be said for the wall, but that's another matter to be talked about later. What I'd like to suggest is the possibility of two things. Use the stones that come from the old outhouse in creation of like a state historic monument that's either on Adams Road or next to South Boulevard that gives a historical perspective, maybe a plaque of the history of the school. The other thing, as far as the wooden ant, it's a waste. Here's the second thought. I heard at the Historical Museum today, the temple is interested in creating a house of meditation. How does it do it? It will be left vacant. It'll be used for a purpose. If in fact that happens, I'd like to suggest that where the outhouse is right now, they could create a little area where the outhouse is and have a park bench. There'd be inside meditation there, outside meditation there, inside the building. That way, in the event, it was the property were ever sold and it was used for interpretive learning. In other words, used as a place to teach people what education was like in the 19th century. Then we would know. Then it would be important to know about the well. It would be important to know about plumbing, that sort of a thing. But that's it's probably just a pie in the sky request. I don't really think it probably will fly very far, but I just wanted to offer it.
Is that it, John?
That's it.
Okay, Mr. Petroulis, do you have any questions or comments? We can't hear him.
Mr. Petroulis, can you make sure your volume is turned up?
Hello, can you hear us? No, we can't hear you.
He has no comments.
Oh, he has no comments. Okay. I too was interested in this, and if I may take my turn to speak. I did get the Register of Historic Places nomination form when the two ladies submitted it to Lansing to the Register, and have all their pictures, and did quite a historic look into it. And I agree that the building itself, because it's historic, the school cannot be demolished. What is done on the inside would be done by the owners, which is the temple. And we had thought it could be a meditation place or a room for education, but that's up to them because they are the owners. But the outhouse has lost its validity because of the, I guess, lack of maybe construction. I wondered if the building itself, when it was inspected by the city inspector of Troy, did he have any comments on the mortar on the school building, Brent?
I don't recall.
Okay, because that's one of the things that might in the future have to be necessary because of the age of the building. The mortar does dry out, it does get brittle, and that's something that the temple needs to understand, that it has to be maintained. And it's sort of sad that it is as old as it is, but it's still a beautiful monument. But the main maintenance on it needs to be started, I would say, because of the roof and other assets. So Brent, do you have any comments on that?
I would say that we do have one other member who.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chandu, who may have some comments.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Chandu, go ahead.
No problem, Mr. Chambers. No, I'm kind of agree with what has been said. I've been there a couple of times last 2 weeks, and honestly, yeah, it's beyond repair. I mean, even if we had infinite amount of money, it would be a different structure. So I also request save the stones, and if you can build some kind of a monument, with the pictures, and that may be the bare minimum that we can do, and to show that it's a historic structure that used to be here, and use the stone for repairing the main building. So, but yeah, I mean, I agree that we need to. It's basically a hazard. I mean, at this point, we cannot preserve it. So.
Because we're actually looking at two buildings, the school and the outhouse, but this meeting is for the outhouse only. And so we can come into agreement with that. Brent, are we allowed then to say that if the outhouse has an agreement for putting it to rest, that we would make sure, though, that the temple has plans to keep the school in the best shape possible?
Yeah, that goes without saying. The temple, the same regulations would apply to the school as any other historic structure, where they're obligated to maintain the temple and ensure that it doesn't fall into a state of disrepair. Again, I think the outhouse was in a state of disrepair long before the temple acquired it. They kind of inherited the problem.
Yes, they did.
To be fair,
Yes, they did.
and there were owners prior to the temple that did not do a good job of maintaining that structure.
Tim?
Yeah, I got one more comment. I strongly recommend that when that outhouse is destroyed or taken down, that the temple get a hold of the archaeological department at Oakland University to take a look at the outhouse grounds to see if there's any artifacts. When we moved the parsonage and the church from Troy Corners over to the Historical Museum, we had them come in, a bunch of students, and we found a gold mine of artifacts. And I suspect that since that was built in 1857, that there will be some artifacts in there.
And that would be almost 200 years old. So that would be fantastic.
Yep.
Mhm.
As I understand it, when to dispose of some things back in the day, one would go to the outhouse and
They threw it into the
pit.
Yep.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's exactly what they did.
I just wanted to agree with Brent. And I work in the city of Clawson, and we had a resident who wanted a swimming pool. And so he had a company come out with a big, I call them steam shovel, and they started digging. And lo and behold, from the early 1800s, I'm sure, they found pieces of smoking material and cups and saucers, and he was just floored. They had to stop. So they put the whole pile with all this chads on the side of his pool and finished it off. But he was amazed. The pile was over 6 foot high and about 10 foot wide. And inside of all that dirt was what you would find as they had to bury. That was their garbage can in the old days. So that's a good possibility, Tim.
Yep.
So it would be appropriate then if it sounds like everyone is there's consensus that it would be appropriate to demolish.
To remove it? Let's say remove it.
I wonder if Mr. Petrolis is able to speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, I apologize. I had the wrong microphone turned on. Unfortunately, I'm in agreement. I'm very saddened that structure reached its current state. It would have been nice if it had been in much better condition. I think it kind of complements that little complex, but unfortunately, the costs are probably prohibitive. So I fully understand, and I guess I do support it. And I also agree that the stones have value, even though they have a lot more value as a structure. But if anything, we should probably do something with the stones, as was mentioned, a monument or something of that sort. And I also think the archaeological idea is excellent too. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises that can be found there.
Okay, so Jackie and Brent, we come away with two ideas: agreement on the removal of the outhouse per se, and then secondly, to keep in mind the stones are very valuable to us as archaeological ideas. But I have a question, Brent. Who would provide that sign? Is that
What I suggest, Barb, is the temple is participating this evening. There's a few members here. Seeing if they're getting their perspective on it. I think they're hearing things that they're glad to hear. I'm wondering if there's a willingness to the archaeological dig. I think has some merit. It's certainly. I think it's appropriate, and I'm wondering if the temple agrees with allowing a university to do an archaeological dig on that site.
Okay. Can the temple answer?
Can I answer?
Hello, Ravi. Mhm.
So, well, I couldn't hear about the use of stone because my microphone wasn't working, and so I don't know what was the discussion. But I did hear about the archaeological search for the artifacts. I think I believe temple would be supportive of that because one of our objective for the temple is educational, and I think that is something we can explore, and I don't think there would be any problem on that. I cannot promise, but
Okay.
I will assure you that I'll try my best to convince the board. So there are 3 members from board here, so they are aware of it. You did mention about archaeological department in Oakland University. I don't know if you have any contact person in that university, because they don't have department of archaeology as far as I know. They do have department of anthropology, and perhaps that's what you may be perhaps referencing to. I do work for Oakland University. I'm a professor there, so I can surely get in touch with the person if you can give me the name of the contact person.
Brent.
Well, what if we were specific in our motion, but we made it more general, like an institution of higher learning,
Right.
For example, Oakland University or Eastern Michigan University or Wayne State
Or Wayne
University.
State. Or,
Yeah, more general, so that
Sure.
the appropriate institution would have an opportunity to be there.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a motion that you are suggesting to temple, because obviously, temple board has to agree to it. Okay, so
Yeah.
no, so surely we should be able to take your suggestion to the board and discuss, and I don't really see any resistance on that one.
yeah, Brent, I'm sure if you look in the records at the museum, they have in there who we contacted for the parsonage.
Yeah, and also Barb, if I may, we can reach out to the director of the museum who has a background in historic preservation, and yeah, Jen, and we can seek a recommendation or maybe some contact information from her so that we move in the right direction.
Mr. Venkatish, am I saying that right? Do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I agree with my other board member, Mr. Ravi. Question is, when we are bringing in the archaeological people here, we are certainly going to invite them. Now, we don't want to delay the process also, right? So it should not take much more time for them to come and take a look at it. And also, we will be certainly in connection with Brent or with your board about when we are doing this operation. If we find something like that, we will immediately send you an email or communicate with all of you here, saying that we found something. You guys come take a look at it, something like that.
Okay.
We will not go forward in continuing the demolition. Certainly, we will keep you in the loop.
All right. And Mr. Chanda, go ahead. I was asking if Mr. Chanda had a comment. Hey, Brent, I don't know.
Yes. There's an echo there.
I didn't do anything.
They all say that.
Yeah, yes. We didn't. Okay.
Can I respond to one of the comments earlier?
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
Let's do this to eliminate the echo. If everyone except myself could turn off their microphone.
Okay.
So the mic button turn red at the bottom of the screen. So thank you. Rajendra, please turn off your microphone. That helps a lot.
How's that?
That's good. That helps a lot. There was related to the stones. I am almost positive. I don't have the file in front of me. That when the temple acquired the property from the city maintained an easement for an entry sign on the corner. I'm quite positive of that, but we can confirm. But in terms of and what that means is that we would have the city would have the right to put a welcome to Troy sign, at the corner, and I can confirm that. But if that is the case, we could use those stones in a partnership effort with the temple. Maybe we share the costs, or we share the labor or what have you, and we could put up a sign and utilize those stones. Just as an idea. I think I think the important thing is keeping the stones on the property and repurposing them in an appropriate fashion that recognizes their historic significance.
I agree. Mhm. Do we need a vote now?
Yeah, we would need a motion and a second and then a vote.
Can I make a comment, please?
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, so about the signage, yes, we did talk about the signage before. So we were planning of having a signage saying that Old Stone Schoolhouse maintained by the Bharatiya Temple. Will that work?
Yeah, I guess the question then becomes how specific do we want to be? If the concern is that the stone should remain on the property and be used appropriately, I don't vote, but that to me that sounds like an appropriate use of the stone. Use making a historic marker. But I don't vote. So if the motion were to do something to the effect of approving demolition of the building, but as a condition that the stones remain on site and be used for a historically appropriate or for an appropriate reason, and also contacting an institution of higher learning for an archaeological dig. That something like that, I think, would be an appropriate resolution.
See, moving the stone, I don't think we even are thinking of that. Stones are going to be there because obviously we don't want any extra space ourselves. So I think that you can assume that stones will not be moved from the property. Signage, etc. Obviously we can decide. I think with mutual agreement between the city and temple, we can come up with the plan. But we obviously have to discuss in the board how to use the stone within the site. So we will take your suggestion and perhaps discuss in our board in the next meeting, which is I think in the end of March 27th, I think. Actually, by the way, Dr. Rajendra Kapoor is the chairman of the board, so he's here. So, basically, he would obviously convey it to the board directly also.
Brent, let me make this motion. I move that we approve the building permit for the demolition of the outhouse and the retention of the stones for future use, and the recommendation that an appropriate school of higher learning would be contacted to come in and survey the site for archaeological artifacts.
So, Barb, we have a motion. We need a second.
Support.
Barb, you're silent.
So we've got a motion and a second.
There she is.
Okay, I was trying to help with that echo, but it didn't. I will make a second on the motion that Tim has made, which is a beautiful one. We have everything connected together.
Mr. Harana Holly, could you turn your mic off, please? Yes, thank you. All right, that's the echo. Mr. Chanda?
Yes, I support that here.
Mr. Petrulis?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
I support, yes.
Mr. Voigt?
Yes.
And Mr. Adams?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye. Any nays? No? Okay. Motion's passed.
Yeah, the next item, since you don't have an agenda in front of you, Barb, is item 5, other business. So if anyone has any other business to discuss.
Does anyone? Tim, Kent, John, Mr. Petrulis? No? Okay.
The next item is public comment, and the members of the public who are in attendance this evening they're all representatives of the temple. They've all had an opportunity to speak, but if they want to add something else, now's the time.
Okay. Does anyone?
What is the next steps, Brent?
The next step is you can demolish the building.
With a permit?
Yeah, they've submitted the permit, so the permit is contingent. The permit is contingent on getting approval of demolition from the Historic District Commission, which you have just received. So I will contact myself or Jackie will contact the building department, confirm that you received approval and you can proceed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good.
And Venkatesh, if you there you go. The echo's gone now. Can I say something, Barb?
Go ahead.
I just want to say I really like the makeup of this board. I really like the makeup of this board, and I wish I was able to. I wish we had more applications to bring forth because I think everyone brings something. No, I mean applications not for demolition, but for rehabilitation, not for demolition.
Okay.
But I like the makeup. I think everyone is. First of all, everyone's respectful. Everyone's intelligent. Everyone's articulate, and I really enjoyed this meeting. And I hopefully we've got exciting projects we can bring forth soon because it's a good mix.
And we will probably be back because I just would like to say this, if you can spare me a minute. I did speak to Jen, who's the director of the Troy Historic Village, and we agreed that on the nominations that were made back in the 50s, 70s, and 80s by the ladies, I have an initial Troy Historic list here of 25 sites, of which I do believe there's probably maybe half that are not in the historic genre. So she and I think there should be some movement. And I'm a historic person, so I might start looking into this if anybody wants to come alongside of me. We'll try to be accurate. We'll try not to just have this floating around as inaccuracies. And so I told her I would start it as soon as I could get my oars in the water.
And if I could add, we talked very informally, Mr. Voigt, Mr. McGee, and yourself, Barb, about the fact that maybe there were some older buildings on the list that maybe weren't historically significant, but conversely, there were some buildings that maybe weren't as old, but were still historically or architecturally significant that maybe should be added to the list.
And have value.
An example of that is the former Yamasaki building, which was demolished for the Children's Hospital. So times change and architectural styles come and go and are in vogue and then leave. But we got some pretty cool architecture here in the city. So
Yes.
Maybe we need to visit the list.
Yes, and I can get that for us and we'll meet Brad, or I'll email it to you and then it can be passed out to the people. If that helps,
Sounds
so they can look at it with their breakfast morning. Okay,
I'll do it, Barb. I've been trying to do this for 20 years.
and I understand, and I've been trying to do it since 2000 in about the same venue, but I couldn't get the information because no one knew where it was. I was up with Jen on the second floor. We looked through 6 file cabinets. It's a mirage. And I said, there's some guy, I'm of the point where I was a bookkeeper and I have everything in order. And I looked at those file cabinets and went, it takes your breath away. So maybe Tim and maybe John and Kent, if we can look into it further, we'll have a little group.
That's good.
Okay. I thank you guys.
Then I guess we're ready for an adjournment.
Okay. Someone making John, go ahead. John's put his hand up to adjourn.
We need a second.
Come on, you guys.
Second.
Tim gave a second.
Yeah, go ahead. All in favor?
And we don't need a roll call. We can just say all in favor.
Aye.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you from the temple and our sincerest interest of your voice on this, and thank you for being here. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, Brent, do you have any idea when Parks and Rec are ever going to meet?
They sometimes have a difficult time getting a quorum.
Yeah, we haven't met now for